I got a comment asking me to give my input on whether or not someone should train at a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy or continue to train at their current Sport Jiu-Jitsu Academy. The short and simple answer is, in my opinion, whatever keeps you on the mat, do it, stay on the mat. But if you watch the video, obviously I have way more to say. I'm going to tell you the ugly truth of training at a Gracie Academy, as well as the actual benefits and pros, some of which were outlined in the comment thread. First, an overall assessment of the current situation. The person is training at what they describe as a sport jiu-jitsu academy, and one of the benefits for training at the Gracie Academy is that there would be a more self-defense focused curriculum. And now the curriculum was another important thing, because I'm guessing their current academy maybe doesn't have a specific curriculum. And this makes sense if you think about it, because if you are going to play the sport of soccer and you want to, as a team, have practices and get better, you're not really going to follow the soccer curriculum, right? You're going to work on what the team needs to work on. Maybe individual players need to work on to get better. Specific skills. Maybe it would be dribbling, shooting, passing, teamwork. For jiu-jitsu, takedowns, submissions, positions, etc., etc., etc. That is one reason, maybe, why not having a curriculum is advantageous. But, curriculums are also advantageous for, let's say, if you want to have your family members come in, which is something that this person said. Because here's a real pro of the Gracie Academy. They have money, which is also a con I'll talk about later on. But they have the money and the systems and sort of the reputation to uphold to at least have a clean facility. And a lot of sport jiu-jitsu gyms, unfortunately, are a little bit dirty. And that's kind of, sort of the vibe of how it, that tough, grungy gym and, maybe even a rough part of town, like that exists. But honestly, personally, I think if everybody was truthfully, like it was the exact same training and you had a really nice, clean, like amazing facility, and you had like some tore up mats that like maybe questionably has a ringworm on it, like obviously you'd want to go to the cleaner facility. But the real rub of academies is, I can tell you generalities about Gracie academies versus sport academies versus self-defense academies versus Krav Maga versus Taekwondo. But the thing is, the biggest factor affecting your experience on the mats is literally the coach who is there the day that you are training. It doesn't matter who owns the academy. It doesn't matter what's going on. If there is an amazing instructor the day that you're learning, it's going to be like a pretty good experience. But if there's a terrible instructor, obviously it's going to be a pretty bad experience. Now, if you go to a good facility, hopefully they only have great instructors. So then, whatever. But this is really why you have to drop in and experience it for yourself. Now, let's get to some of the downsides of the Gracie Academies, some of the ugly truths. First of all, they're going to make you pay, and they're not going to make you pay just once. They're going to make you pay again and again and again, and they're going to try to make you pay in a bunch of different ways. First and foremost, they're probably going to sign you up with a regular membership on a contract. Now, not every gym does contracts. A lot of them do. There are some pros, there are some cons. Maybe you'll get a small discount for signing up for a longer period of time, but just know they want to rope you into a contract. Know that not only are they roping you into a contract, but if you are maybe newer, or basically they're going to try to upgrade your plan at some point. They're going to try to give you a few stripes and say, now you can come to the advanced class, but actually it's not like an invitation to the advanced class. It's an invitation to pay us more money. Anyways, they hopefully will use that extra money that they wring out of their students to, upgrade the facilities and not just line the pockets of the school owner, but more importantly for them, the pockets of the affiliate guy who is really making all the profits off these Gracie gyms. Because truthfully, there are massive percentages. Other ugly downsides, and another way that they make money, is rash guards, patches, gis. Those places will say that you are not allowed to wear a gi, even if it's perfectly functional, even if it doesn't have any other patches, if it didn't come from their specific sources, which are way more expensive than a regular gi because, and they're lower quality than a regular gi, but they do have the patches. And they'll make up excuses and say, like, it's for team unity, like, we're all together and, like, we support one another, but, like, everybody knows you can support one another with, like, a single patch of your own on your own gi or something. It's a little ridiculous. The arguments that they use to justify this honestly gross business tactic, if you ask me. The other things that they'll do to try to bring money out of you, they probably will try to push seminars on you, like exorbitantly priced seminars with people who, I mean, will improve your jiu-jitsu, probably, hopefully. I'm not saying they're putting in bad people, but they will push a lot of seminars, and their seminars are usually other people within their affiliation, and that's sort of another way that they kind of wring money out of each other, is by going to each other's schools and teaching a few classes, but the classes are like priced way more and they call it a seminar. And now look, if you're really going to like an awesome seminar, something that's going to happen is it's going to be a few hours of like hyper focused, like specialty, like jiu-jitsu stuff that, is like really awesome. But so I've been to some seminars that are really awesome. I've been to some seminars that are not so awesome. So the most expensive seminar definitely started at a Gracie Academy. I'll just say that. So those are some of the cons, and that's sort of just the general culture of that place. You might have a little bit more formalities. You'll line up in rank. You might bow to a picture on the wall, which is weird and very culty, if you ask me. Like a picture of the founding member of the jiu-jitsu. It's honestly a little bit weird. It is weird. So those are a lot of the real downsides of the Gracie Academy. Let's talk about the self-defense aspect of it. Truthfully, if you want to protect yourself against attackers, you should be training situational awareness and with firearms. If you're not allowed to own firearms, the closest equivalent, or at the very least, blades and knives. But jiu-jitsu is a great fallback, I suppose. As far as self-defense, I really honestly think that there isn't much behind self-defense focused jiu-jitsu other than marketing. I think at the end of the day, if you really want to train to protect yourself, how do you do that? Well, you learn how to push the off button on people. And what's the off button? It's right here. When you shut their neck or, throat. When you make it so they can't breathe or get blood to their brain, they fall asleep. And if you get really, really good at doing that super efficiently, you're going to be able to defend yourself. As Joe Rogan says, if we get locked in a room with no weapons and one of us is coming out alive, it's going to be me. And I can say that with a lot of confidence, even though I've never trained. Well, okay. I have trained a lot of this self-defense jiu-jitsu, and it's okay at best. A lot of it is kind of make-believe scenarios, and if you really want the best kind of self-defense kind of jiu-jitsu, literally just train a bit of combat jiu-jitsu or some MMA rounds. Now we're just going to do... I think this was something that Gracie Academies do. They do, they have some marketing name for it, but you basically put on gloves and you roll and you kind of hit each other a little bit. And that's really good, honestly. The best kind of training for self-defense without weapons. And if really that is something that's super important to you and is not what you're getting at a sport academy, you can't pull someone aside and do that, and it means enough to this is how we're going to alter our whole training, definitely. Other benefits I would say to these Gracie Academies is they usually have more structures and procedures, and they're a lot more family friendly. And the reason why they're more family friendly is because kids programs are super profitable, and Gracies love profit. So they have systems for their academies to run decent kids programs usually, but a decent kids program will actually be a good thing for everyone involved. So they do kind of squeeze your pockets, but at the end of the day, if that amount of money is inconsequential to you, when I was training at a Gracie Academy, there were a lot of doctors, there were a lot of really wealthy people, because that's who could afford to just, the difference between $200 and $500 a month to those individuals is literally, it's almost a rounding error. So if you're in that case and Gracie Academy or Gracie Gym seems more beneficial to you, I would highly recommend training there. Truthfully, it doesn't matter whose name is on the building. It really matters who's going to be there coaching and what your mindset is going into training, because what you want out of this is really up to you. If you really want to, let me see if you really, really want to train self-defense, you can just have your gym bag out. thought, okay, so I have these rubber knives. I don't know. Do I have any? I lost them. Anyways, this is, maybe I don't train enough self-defense. I lost my training knives, I suppose. You could just hand somebody a knife, or not a real knife, or you could if you want, but I wouldn't recommend it. A training knife and say, hey, let's just grapple, except try to take the knife from me, or something like that. You can do that basically anywhere, and that's kind of up to you. So at the end of the day, when you get advanced enough in sport jiu-jitsu, or just let's just say jiu-jitsu, because to me it's kind of all the same. It's one big jiu-jitsu, and there's one big umbrella. It's like, how do you apply effective grappling techniques in different situations? When you get advanced enough, you sort of come to this conclusion where, like, for example, in my competitions, when I roll against other expert division grapplers, especially if there's money on the line, they are not going to tap if something is not going to legitimately break. And sometimes, even if it is going to legitimately break, they will not tap anyways. So what you have to do in that is now, okay, so we were playing this sport jiu-jitsu, except he's not going to give up unless I'm starting to break his arm or leg. And even if I am starting to break his arm or leg, he's not going to quit. So what do? I literally have to apply enough of the submission to literally get enough damage to have the ref stop it, which literally, there have been matches where people get their arm completely back like this. They pop it back into place and they keep going. So that's, what do you do then? You go for the neck and you turn them off with a choke. And honestly, if you talk about no weapon self-defense, when you get to that level of jiu-jitsu, that's really effective training. Like, for me, I will literally, in competitions, know that if I'm not going to break it, he's not going to tap. And if he's not going to tap, I have to be ready to break it. Like, I have broken people's limbs before. Not, maybe torn ligaments is like more accurate, but I've definitely seen people get their limbs broken. And the reason why I haven't broken so many limbs is, first of all, because I hate doing that. The person talking to you right now on camera would never ever want to break anybody's limbs, especially in training. In competition though, when the ref is like match on, something switches in your brain, and I know that I want to win, and in order to win, you got to pull that arm back. But even then, it's like, I want to win, but he might not tap. So what do? I start going for chokes instead. And then if he doesn't want to tap to the choke, I got to be able to put his lights out. And at the end of the day, in a self-defense situation, if you're awake and they're not, they're really not a threat anymore. So that's what I think about the pros, cons, and ugly truths of training at a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy. If you like the video, give me comments, right? I make videos responding to your comments. It helps me a lot. Peace.